All right. Hope everyone's been well. It's been a while since I've done a keto video, but it is time for a new one. Last year, I had gone into keto. I lost a lot of weight, felt great, did my podcast, which you'll see. Hopefully those were enjoyable. If you did like them, remember to like it and also subscribe so that when I do these new ones, you get notified. But this is kind of round two. This is going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge video of the people, questions from patients, questions that I get repeatedly, topics, and some things since I went back into keto actually recently, about a month ago, some new insights that I've learned that I don't think I ever really covered before. So this video is pretty much for the people that have done keto already or are familiar with it, and you're looking just for some different information. So with that said, let's get into it. So this is the point today. I say keto advanced. It's really not necessarily advanced. If you're just considering it, this is still something you hopefully want to watch. I'm going to try to keep it brief like all my other videos because I think that's just an easy way for us to learn. And then we're going to go over the questions. So this is pretty much what we're going to focus on this video. Round two of keto, essentially what is different this second time really doing it, going into an adaptive ketosis state. We're going to talk breathalyzers, urine issues, and then what do you eat? I still continue to get this over and over, and supplementation is a really big deal, and I have found some things that are, I think, beneficial for anyone who's going to do keto, because one thing that does happen, especially with women, is they'll go into keto, they feel really good, they do well, and then a month or two into it, they start to feel bad, things start to fall apart. And it's not that keto's bad, it's they're missing something. So they need to adapt their diet more. No different in the very beginning, you have to recognize you need salt, So if you're gonna do a fast only to get into ketosis, you need to have salt in there too. And I mean, again, as I think I've said before, I've had people go to the hospital because they've mentioned they tried to do water only and then they threw their electrolytes off and everything else. So we do need that. So hopefully this video is going to help with those things. So let's start with round two of keto. These were the things that were interesting. So I was a little bit on the insulin resistant side when I started before, when I did the brain seminar with the very wonderful Datis Karazian, brilliant doctor who does great seminars. Highly recommend those. But round two was a lot easier. It took me a lot quicker time to get into ketosis this time, and it was a lot easier in general. I just kind of did water and salt, and in one day I was into keto, and it was very, very easy. As well as it was quicker to get into an adaptive keto state, which is really, if you're doing this, what you want. It's not, you don't want to just be doing it for keto unless you're just doing, I guess, a quick detox. But an adaptive keto state, when you've trained your metabolism to want fat for energy, that happened a lot faster. The last time it took about 3 to 4 weeks. This time I would say it took maybe a week and a half until I got into that state. It was very, very easy. And the prep work, everything about it was just simpler the second time around. So it is one thing, once your body gets used to it, you're going to be better. The months that I was not in keto, in between this time, I noticed my blood sugar was a lot better too. So it is something that lasts. Can you live your whole life in keto? I think some people can, no problem. I took myself out of keto just because I kind of felt like I should. I was, in the other videos, I was screwing around with my body a lot. I would get back pain, which was kidney stress, and I just felt it was time to do so, and I did. But then I did gain some weight back, and I decided to go into it again. So that's the good thing about this second time. So the one thing I will say, because breathalyzers are by far the easiest way to check your ketone status, it is not near as accurate as blood. If you're going to do it and you need accuracy, you definitely want blood. The thing I will say about the keto meters is they can go bad. The one on the left that you see there, that's the original keto meter that I bought. It just went bad. It started measuring 0 when I knew I wasn't 0. So I would test my blood and I was still in keto. I would do my urine, I was in keto, and the breathalyzer was saying 0. So just keep that in mind. You'll learn your body, and again, if you're tracking, that's a good thing. The meters really don't matter as far as the way they level. Some are a point version, others go up to 40, which is a 4.0, and other ones. That measurement doesn't matter. Again, you need to know which your device is to understand what it is. But meters are not equal. I actually just purchased some more meters, and I think I'm going to do a video just on it and just kind of test and just show if there's a difference between meters or if maybe they just go bad. But again, it's a fairly inexpensive device, so it's not a big deal. So, urine. This was one thing I didn't necessarily notice the first time, but I do from a couple of my female patients who have done this. This mentioned I have to pee, and this is definitely the truth. As a young child, I've always had a big bladder. I grew up in one of those families that when we took a road trip, you peed when the car needed gas. That was kind of it. So I learned how to hold it, and I've never had an issue. But second round now, again, I'm a little older, but that's not really a big deal. I do notice that I feel the urge to pee more often. And that is really just because when you're dumping ketones, it makes your gravity, the weight of your urine heavier, so it hits your urethra and you actually get the feeling that you need to pee more often, and then you don't pee as much. But it's just because of the weight of the urine. It's not a big deal. You can hold it. You kind of get used to it. But in the beginning, if you feel like, why do I have to pee so much? It's really because that's a good sign that you're in ketosis, but also because you're having to pee more. So, nutrition insights. There's a couple of these. These are going to be the really quick ones that I get from people all the time. What diet do I eat? It doesn't matter necessarily. You're obviously not going to do a high carb diet, but you can do a paleo style diet. You can do a Mediterranean style diet. You can do a vegetarian diet. You can do most healthy diets and stay in ketosis. You just add more fat and just make sure you moderate how many carbs you do. I also get a lot of times people say, oh, I can't do keto because I can't eat that much protein. That's not true at all. You don't need to eat a lot of protein on keto. This is not a high protein diet at all. In fact, protein can turn into sugars, so you really don't want a super high protein diet. So again, you don't need to eat protein on this diet. It's not a meat-based diet. You can easily do keto with a vegetarian or a Mediterranean style diet. It's a little more fat. So when my wife makes soups or she might make a dish, I just add more oil. I just pour some oil on there, no big deal. Or if she has something that has a starch as a side, I don't eat the side. That's just kind of how it works. I feel terrible. This is a big deal, although it's pretty quick. If you feel terrible, something's wrong. Something's imbalanced. Number one thing to always think of is what's in balance, what's wrong with your body and what's in balance, but it's probably minerals or fats or something. We'll get into that in the next little piece. And then my back hurts. If you get pain in your mid-back kind of consistently in the same spot, that could be kidney stress. When I first started doing keto, when we would exercise and do more high intensity, I would get these mid-back pains. And at the time I would think, oh, my back's out. Maybe I need to go see my colleague, Dr. Zebo, and get adjusted. And it really wasn't. We found it was my kidneys getting stressed. And again, in the beginning, I wasn't as versed as I am now, and I've learned from that. Since this time, I've never had that problem. I've learned that minerals are very, very important, especially if you're going to add in your heavy exercises and stuff like that. So the bigger insights here are for my number twos. These are ones that I didn't know back before. I did do a lot of experimentation with minerals. As I've said, you need a lot more salt. Salt is your number one electrolyte, and you dump a lot of salt. I ate more salt on keto the first time that I ever had in my life, and my blood pressure had never been lower. So the whole adage of salt's bad and blood pressure's bad, it really depends what's the physiological state of your body. I have found some products now that I highly recommend if you're going to do keto, which are just very good assistants. The one is this first one here, which is the minerals. These are all from a company, US Nutrients. You can see usnutrients.com. There's a coupon code, AKDocKeto, if you want to get 15% off if you're going to purchase these. But I've been using these now, and I find them very, very helpful the second time around. The first one is Keto Minerals, which is BHB, which is beta-hydroxybutyrate. That acts as a support for mitochondria, and then it has the electrolytes that we need in them. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. You can do a pill instead of have to play around with salt and everything like that. It does have some magnesium stearate in it, which I usually talk bad about, but because this is a mineral product, it's not as big of a deal. In fact, it's almost good because it makes it a little bit of a sustained release, shall we say. So this would be something you'd want to take that in the morning, and usually one per day is fine. It's not necessarily going to be super fast acting though, so if you're going to wake up and hit the gym, you might want to take one in the morning I would go ahead and still add some salt in anyway. That's going to be a quicker salt variant. Another one that they make is a Keto MCT oil. Those are medium chain triglycerides. It's a derivative from coconut oil. It's very good because they're in capsules. So let's say you're on the go and you don't have time to add fat necessarily, or in your diet, whatever your work schedule, these are just supplements. So it's very easy to just add some oil. So if you're feeling like you need a little energy and you don't have time necessarily to eat, you just pop a couple of those and that gives you your fat. So that's just for convenience. Again, I use oil most of the time myself. I don't necessarily need to go to these because my lifestyle, I don't need them, but it is a pretty cool product for that. So before my back hurts or I'm achy and I feel terrible, one thing people have asked and I've noticed is when you do keto and you're adding oils, a lot of people tend to be adding a lot of omega-6 oils, vegetable oils, olive oil, and such in their foods, and they forget about that balance between omega-3s and omega-6s. And when your essential fatty acid balance gets off and you have a lot of omega-6s, you're going to make arachidonic acid, which creates inflammation. So you do want to supplement with an omega-3 probably as well, especially if you're feeling achy and such. Fish oil product, it's a high quality one, is good to do. I like theirs. It's enteric because it's good quality. It doesn't, you don't burp it up, get fishy taste, all that kind of stuff. But any high quality fish oil is fine. I mean, when it comes to fish oil, when patients bring it into me, I always look at what's the concentration per dose and then how much does it cost. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's a great product. Oh, that's a good price. Other times it's like, wow, that's a ripoff. Fish oil, it's a very simple thing. So that's just one that they make that's also a good product. So when in doubt, track. I've said this again. This is the most important part. Just be tracking what you're doing and what you want to find. This was a patient that actually just started doing it. I make a Google Sheet. If you're new to this or you want to do it, I'm happy to send you my basic tracker. It's just a template that I can share. I love it because it's cloud-based. Then I can log in. I can see a person's sheet. They don't have to remember bringing it into the office, etc. And I do this with people over the internet too, with some of my conference-type patients. But what do you want to track? You figure out what you want to track. But in most cases, people are tracking their blood pressure, their weight, how do they feel, of course, obviously your ketones. Once you're in an adaptive keto state, that's when you can cheat. So those other videos that talked about cheating, don't do it until you're in an adaptive state, because if you do cheat and you throw yourself out of keto, you almost have to start back over again. It's as if your body says, oh, that was just a temporary thing. You need to do it really strict until your body switches in the future. And that is it. So I actually did this under my 15-minute timeline. So I hope that was very helpful. If you have any other questions, please email me. Again, that is drjohn@akdoc.com. And also, if you've liked this or found this helpful, please share it with others and subscribe so when I do new ones. But this second time around has been very easy, and I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you very much. Take care.